right? Hello, good afternoon. Good afternoon to everybody. Sorry. Well, two news, ladies and gentlemen. Two news. One bad news is holidays are over. Yeah, and good news is we started tasting season. So let me introduce to you, in order of tasting, the members of a famous group, Premium Estates of Austria. A very limited group, as you see. But in the tasting order, it's not the age order, it's a tasting order. First up here is Andreas Sattler from Steiermark. Yes. Second is Fred Leumer at his left. Yes, and in my yes here, Fred Leumer from Langenlois, and you may remember him. You may remember him from January tasting. Third is on my left. Yes, this is Gernot Heinrich from Gers from Burgenland, and you also already tasted his wines during the Burgenland tastings, but not with his presence. And the last, but not well, this is the guy from Vienna, Fritz Winiger,
Hello.
with two wineries. Yes, so a group of friends, I could say, a group of premium estates of Austria, and the big tasting of today. So I'm logging out now. I'm staying in the dark. Yes, and now it's Andreas. Two first wines. Okay, Andreas.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, and welcome everyone as well from Austria, from South Styria. It's a pleasure to, well, not be in person there, but at least be on your screen. I hope in the future we can do it in person again. Anyhow, I will just start right away. My name is Sattler Andreas, as I was introduced already. I'm from the Sattlerhof estate. We're a family estate. We have about 35 hectares of vineyards. All in this group, as you will see, is about biodynamic, organic and biodynamic production. So we are the youngest member of the biodynamic group, which is Respect. So we work all our vineyards organic and or like biodynamic now. I'll just quickly share my presentation so that I can walk you through a little bit through the area. The main point about Südsteiermark, in case I'm not sure how many people have been here already, I'm just assuming you haven't, so I will I will just introduce you a little bit to the area. So I'm from Südsteiermark. This is our family estate. You can see here on the screen. This is where I live at. It's an old family property. It's run by my brother and me currently. My parents handed it, or we're currently in the process of handing it over. And the main point about Südsteiermark is the landscape. I will maybe give you an idea on a map first. This is Austria. This is what's so nice about this group as well. We're first of all a group of friends. We're also a community of people who talk about wine, talk about wine making, of course. But we also we pretty much represent Austrian winemaking, I would say, not from old styles, of course. But if you look at the map, we have in our group, you will see the differences between these areas. So when you look at this map in total, this eastern part is where wine is grown mainly. Because if you look at the rest of the map, most of that is Alps. So a very important thing about Austria is that it's a very alpine area. Most of Austria is covered, or most of our landscape is alpine, so cold climate. And then in the east, you have some areas that are flatter, where you get the good climate for wine growing. And when you look at this map in total in Austria, you usually have 3 different main climate zones. You have the north, that is mainly influenced from the continent. That is a continental climate, which is south of Czech Republic, close to Slovakia. Then you have the east, which has a big influence from the Pannonian flatlands. So it's a very warm, very dry climate. And then you have the south. And the special thing about our area is that we are we're south of the Alps. We're like in the corner of the Alps. So we mainly get a lot of humidity, a lot of rainfall from the Adriatic Ocean. So this, of all the wine growing areas of Austria, this is the most like the one with the most rainfall. We have 800 to 1,200 millimeters rain a year. And the other thing is, it's also the coldest. You would not expect that because it's the most south wine growing area of Austria, but we're close to the Alps, so we get this very cold influence from the Alps, and we're also on high elevation. So our landscape is, or our vineyards are between 360 and 500 meters of altitude. So I would go back to this picture just to give you an idea. This is how the landscape of Südsteiermark looks like. Geologically speaking, this used to be covered by the ocean 15 million years ago. Then when the ocean was drawn back, the rivers carved out the landscape. So today you find foothills, very nice landscape, very green due to the high rainfall. As you can see here in Austria, they call it the Tuscany of Austria because the landscape is similar than Tuscany, but it's a little more humid. And in the background, you will see the Alps. So on most of our vineyards, you have a direct view to the Alps. So this is where the cold influence comes from. Yeah, I would say we also get this party started now. We start with the Gamlitz Sauvignon Blanc, first one on the list. Gamlitz is our village level wine. Maybe something else to introduce you to. We use glass stoppers. We're not the only ones in the group who do that. So if you want to open it, you use your knife, put it around your bottle, and then you just remove the metal cap, and then you can just flip it open on one side. That's just a small introduction. Cool thing is you can reclose this bottle, by the way. So then it's watertight. Then it's tight. So Gamlitz Sauvignon Blanc. I believe you see already the you see maybe the database of it or the data sheet. The main point about Gamlitz is it's a village level wine. So it comes from the village of Gamlitz. Gamlitz is the village where I live, where I'm from. So 1 second. You can see here, this is a geological map of our area. And you can see here, wait a second, sorry. And you can see here that you can see that we have mainly sandy soils. So Gamlitz is mainly on sandy soils. It's from mica. It's a sand with mica. It's a Sauvignon Blanc. 60% of our production is Sauvignon Blanc. Our climate with the humidity and the cold nights and warm days is perfect for Sauvignon Blanc development. The special thing about our area from a quality point of view is that you have a very special microclimate, and the microclimates can differ a lot between different areas.
Sorry, Andreas, if you want us to see the presentation, you have to share the screen once again, because this is we put the fact sheet, right?
Okay, sorry, I didn't. I figured, I just saw that you probably don't see it. Does it work now? No, I don't think so. 1 second. Sorry, we also desktop sharing. There we go. Sorry. So sorry, sorry for that. It's a new thing for me as well.
Okay, now it's okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. I say thank you. So here you can see the Gamlitz, the village of Gamlitz. This is where our estate is located, and the special thing is when you see this bright blue color here, this is sandy soils. So Sauvignon Gamlitz is grown on sandy soils. In our area, you find a lot of sand because it's a sedimentation material from the Alps, and for our area, very, very good soil. Of course, this the soil, the terroir of a vineyard is always depending on the area, on the climate you grow your wines in. Because in our case, sandy soil is very good because we need soils that drain water very well. We have a lot of water. If you come to an area with less rainfall, then you maybe need a soil that can keep the water better. In our area, we need these soils to drain well. So 60% of our production is Sauvignon Blanc. And so this wine is I would call it our signature our signature wine. It's 100% own production again and 100% organic from our own vineyards. And the good thing about, or the special thing about the village levels, this is a quality level in a good price range, like something that I think is quite affordable. But you get a wine with a high aging potential. And this is a very important thing to know. Sauvignon Blanc is a wine with high aging potential. A lot of people would say Sauvignon Blanc has never aging potential, but this is what South Styria, what our wines are all about. That Sauvignon Blanc can age perfectly. It can age as interesting as a Riesling, but here the grape quality is the most important thing. If you harvest just 2 days too early, the wines will get green and grassy and everybody will like that, but then they will not age well. If you harvest them too late, they will lose all their structure and just become flat. So Sauvignon Blanc, good selection with no botrytis, everything has to be hand-picked. This is the only way to make Sauvignon Blancs in our area that can live for a very long time. So the village level Sauvignon Blanc has an aging potential of at least 5 years. We nowadays recommend to drink 17 now. Our winery, we are working a lot on keeping the wines as long as possible. So our winery is all about storing wines. You can still buy the Sauvignon Gamlitz Exceller 17. We still have that available. In Magnums, the number ones are sold out, unfortunately. Something else you will find, the way we do it, we don't use any artificial yeasts, obviously, but the goal is a very precise, very elegant wine. It has to stay drinkable. For us, the best thing is if you have a wine that professionals can discuss, but they can still drink it. It should still, in the end, be a wine for us, wine is fun. In our area, our culture is based on wine also as a product of having fun together, drinking together, enjoying wine together. So it's very, very important for me that the wine up at one point can speak for itself. So it's 100% stainless steel. The Gamlitz Sauvignon has no oak whatsoever. We try to keep it as straight ahead as possible, not to make it more technical, but to make it show its origin. Because we don't want to have any influence from oak barrels whatsoever. It should really be only driven by the origin. So this was the village level. As you saw, by the way, the age of the wines is between 15 and 35 years. Now we go to the next wine. It's the Kranachberg. So this now is a single vineyard site. This is where the Kranachberg is located. So you see here is the Cernaberg. This again is Gamlitz, where this brown borderline is. This is the village of Gamlitz. And here is the Kranachberg. If you look at the altitudes of our vineyards, you will find that we're between 360 and 550 meters of altitude. 360 being very low altitude, making like on this low altitude vineyards, you get a very, very warm climate for our, I would say for our, it's still cold there, but it's warmer than in the area around. And on the high altitude vineyards, you get very cold climate because you have a direct influence from the Alps. And the Kranachberg is Kranachberg is a Grand Cru for us. It is kind of in the sweet spot because it is, it's high enough that you don't, in a very hot vintage, you don't get too much heat. So the wines still keep their elegance. In a very cold vintage, the wines will still get enough alcohol because the altitude is not so high that it's too cold. And then it's a perfectly bowl-shaped vineyard. By the way, there was a question about international grapes. You will find in our area that there is one kind of autochthone grape, which is a Welsh Riesling. But other than that, sorry, we're currently rebuilding. Besides that, the main variety is Sauvignon Blanc, but then you find Chardonnay. You will find that Chardonnay in our area is called Morillon because it's a Marsal selection from the area, but it's a Chardonnay, or it originates from Chardonnay. Then we have Pinot Blanc, Pinot Gris, Muscatella, something that is I would highly recommend to taste one day. It's a very, very nice wine. And other than that, you find a lot of like small quantities. We, for example, produce a Pinot Noir, but only 300 to 600 liters. But the main variety is Sauvignon Blanc. Yeah, so this is the Kranachberg that you can taste. Now. The special thing about the Kranachberg is sandy soil again, because again, sand is one of the main soil types here. but it has limestone in it. It's not from a coral reef, but it's a sedimented limestone. So you have sand and gravel there, and this is compressed together and glued together by limestone. And this makes these wines very mineralic. So Kranachberg again is 100% stainless steel. This is the special thing about Kranachberg. This is a Grand Cru wine. You will maybe find or taste it and believe that it has big oak in it. It has a quality. It has the structure, the tannin structure of a barrel-aged wine, but it's not barrel-aged. It never touches oak. But it stays in the cellar on the fine lees for 2 years. So the current vintage is 19. The 20 was just the 19 was just released 2 days ago, actually. 6 days ago, sorry, beginning of September. Yeah. So you have a tannin structure that is very typical for limestone. And Kranachberg has aging potentials of 10 years or more. So this is how the Kranachberg looks like. You can see here that it's bowl-shaped, and you have a direct view to the Alps. So this is another picture of the Kranachberg. Here is our part of the Kranachberg, and in the back you can see the Alps with snow. This was taken in October, so in October it's very likely that it snows on the Alps already. So you get this cold influence. So Kranachberg is the vineyard that we're the most famous for. It has the longest aging potential. You have the best soil type. You have old wines, 25 to 30 years old. And this is really our Grand Cru because we have the longest experience with Kranachberg. And in my opinion, it is the best soil for Sauvignon Blanc in our area, and the best sun exposition. Other than that, if you look at Styria, you will find that there's a lot of different wine styles, a lot of different wines. But for me, what's very important or very interesting is that all the producers, they really focus on making high quality wines that show their origin. So when you find wines are different, very often it's just the origin. Because in our area, due to the reason that we're so close to the Alps and the differences in soil types, you can have within 5 kilometers of distance, you can have 2 completely different microclimates. So there's really big differences between small vineyards. Even on the Kranachberg, we make selections of different parts. Like we make the upper part separately, the lower part separately, and the side part separately. And we ferment them separately, and after fermentation, we decide if we will put them together or not. About vintages, the best vintages in our area so far in the last 5 years, I would say, are 17 and 19, and 20 will be, I think. So I think what we have here to taste represents it very well. Even though I like 18 a lot, to be honest. 18 was a very cold vintage, but perfect for, very typical for the area. You had a good acidity structure. So when you look to Südsteiermark, you will find that acidity structure is key. It's very important to have a nice acidity. And because the special thing on Sauvignon Blanc is, if you harvest it right, even with high acidity levels, you will still have an elegant wine because ripe acidity on Sauvignon Blanc gives structure. If you harvest too early, if it's green, then it will taste sour. And these wines are all about ripeness. So what we do here is all on a long term. We don't think short term. We always, whatever we do on every harvest step we do on a long term perspective. And everything in South Styria has to be handpicked by law, but handpicking and hand selection is very important to our quality anyhow. So I think this is mainly what sums it up. Of course, everything is grown on steep hills. So in this area, you will not find any flatland wine growing. So the highest qualities or all the good qualities come from the hills anyhow in this particular area in our microclimate. It's too cold for wine growing in flatlands in our area. Yeah, I think we're pretty much good in time. If there's no more questions, I would say that was pretty much my part. Is that okay, Piotr?
Yeah, perfect. Yes,
or any other questions?
Very impressive. What's your main market, except Austria, of course?
Germany, and then actually the northern countries like Norway and Sweden are very, very important. And Russia is very important, and the US as well. But it's kind of split up, like Germany is the main market because we have a lot of German tourists as well. This area, by the way, if somebody wants to make holidays, it's a very nice area to make holidays. So we have a lot of quality tourism because there's a lot of good taverns and regional food. So very recommendable.
Yeah, and the works are going on. Yes, to your winery right now. This sound. This is.
Yeah, sorry. I'm very sorry for it. We're currently rebuilding our cellar a little, and I'm sitting right on top of it. I didn't expect that they would start drilling now, but I'm very sorry. I hope it was okay. It's a little annoying.
No, it's okay. It's okay. I just was checking, here whether the sound comes from here or from there. Right. Okay. Thank you very much, Andreas. This was I really like the two wines we tasted, and that's it recalls me some good wines from the past, good Sauvignon Blanc from the past, and I can't really find the closest connection, but it's really nice, really nice. I really like it. Thank you very much. It's a pity you're not in Poland yet.
Yeah, I'm not sure actually. No, we will come to Poland for sure.
Okay. So, yeah. Okay. Right. Thank you very much. Stay with us, please. And if you have, folks, any questions, please ask Andreas for it. The timing is perfect. The timing is perfect. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah. And now, Fred Leumer. Fred Leumer, hello again. Fred, are you with us? Fred? Yeah. So I'm alone. Do not forget to shoot the photographs for me, okay, and for the wineries. Thank you. Fred Leumer from Camptal. Hello. The sparkling is coming. Yes, and yes, I forgot, but yes, do not forget to use this tool, the spittoon. Yeah, we have 8 wines. Fred Leumer. Hello, Fred. Click on the camera and on the microphone, please. Okay, so no Fred for a while. How did you like it? The first 2 wines. Let's profit. Write something to me on the chat. It's coming. And again, Fred Leumer, yes. Okay, perfect ones. The first one or the second or both? Both. Good. Fred can. Fred, if you can, Fred, please log out and log in back if you cannot enter. Log out and join us back. Why all the letters are so small? Yeah, we wait. Do not forget, because this is. Let's profit this time. Do not forget the next week tasting, which is Respect Biodin or Biodine, next Monday at 5 p.m. Yeah, same. Some producers are, I believe, the members of the same group. So, Fred. No worries. Okay. Believe me or not, but once I've seen the advertisement in Austrian press describing Tuscany as italienische Steiermark. Yeah, I believe it was about this landscape. So to our Austrian friends, we have also in Poland, we have several Tuscanies, practically part of Poland is Tuscany. Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Yes.
Just a moment.
Yes, Fred, you're not far from here. You came back. We see you. And now, yes. Fred is entering.
Good.
Hello. Good.
Sorry, I don't know what happens.
Lovely. We see you, we hear you, and the floor is yours.
Too
Okay?
old for that technique. I'm so sorry. So
No.
yeah,
Okay.
but you have the presentation and you see the picture. All of you see the picture. So that's
Yes, we do.
the place where I'm
Yes, we
sitting.
do. And please just say next slide and we will change it, right?
Okay, so next slide, I would say that's the press house, which get busy today. We started harvest today, but not here in Kamptal, which is quite a cool climate region. We have also some vineyards in Gumpolskirchen, south of Vienna, which you will see on the map. Piotr, can you do the next one? Yeah, here it is. You see Vienna, and this big line in between is the Danube. And I am sitting at the moment here in Langenlois in the Kamptal region, and west and north of that region. So above and on the left side, there's one of the coldest regions in Austria. It's called Waldviertel. So it's a forest district, woods, climbing up altitudes to 1,000 meters. And this is influencing us very much. And that's why here in Langenlois, that's a picture of, yeah, you can go to the picture, it's fine. That's, I see a similar picture at the moment when I look out of my window. These are the terraces of the most famous site here for Riesling. It's the Zübing Heiligenstein. And this little shiny line down there is the Kamp River, which gives the region the name. And the Kamp River is coming from the north. And this is the region which is influencing so much on the climate side. So it really cools down at nights, and also tricky in May on late frosts and also early frosts in October. So it's one of the colder places, and that's why Langenlois turns out in the last 20 or maybe 30 years to one of the best places for sparkling. And this is what you have at the very beginning now on your tasting sheet. Do we have a fact sheet too, or I show the picture? I show it like this one. So we do sparkling here. We started already in 91, but I would say in a serious way, we do it since 2013. And we do two non-vintages. This is the white, an extra Brut, and then we do also a Brut Rosé. Beside Blanc de Blanc and Blanc de Noir will come this year. And this non-vintage is a blend of 2/3 red wine grapes. So Zweigelt is the main, and Pinot Noir is the second, which makes 70% of the wine, and 30% is Chardonnay, Pinot Blanc, and a little bit of Pinot Gris. And when you look to the label, you will find this little word Reserve and Niederösterreich. So Niederösterreich is the appellation for sect, and it's a controlled appellation for sect. And a reserve is give you an idea how long it has to be on the lees in the bottle. And when you turn it around, you will find all the information you need for sparkling, I think, which are necessary to know. This is bottling date and date of degorgement, so you know how long it was on the lees. And this bottle I have in my hand, and I think it's a similar one you have, is bottled in 18 in June and degorged in July 21. So that means 3 years on the lease. And then they get degorged, and we do it with a very, very low dosage. So the sect represent, in a way, the region quite well. I told you it's a cool climate region. And we are able in that region to harvest grapes fully ripe with low sugar content. That means that also the sect with second fermentation doesn't get too high in alcohol levels. This is what I prefer on wines like that. They should show the freshness and should have a really nice drinkability, as you can use it as an aperitif, but also when it gets aged and when it's long on the lees, it's also nice wine for food pairings. For me, sect is something which can give you an easy understanding of a natural winemaking. So we don't need sulfur in a way. This is only one little sulfuring all the time, and the total sulfur content of that is only 20 to 25 milligrams, so very, very low. More or less no free sulfur, because we do the sulfuring after the second, after the malolactic fermentation, before we bottle, and then there is no sulfuring anymore. And that's why it's very low, because there's all the time there's something in the bottle which keeps the wine reductive. Most of the time there is lees contact, and after degorgement there is a CO2 and CO2 pressure, which keeps the wine fresh. Yeah, beside the reserve wines, which has to be by law 18 months on the lease, we do grosse reserve, so Grand Reserve, has to be 30 months on the lease, and we do two different, a Blanc de Blanc from Langenlois, and then a Blanc de Noir from Kumpelskirchen, from the second place, which is 100% Pinot Noir. And both, which got released at the moment, is 16, and they were 3.5 years on the lease, and there's still 14 available, which was 60 months on the lease and got degorged a year ago. But beside, and maybe we change back to pictures. I have no idea which will come next. Yeah, so let's go to Kamptal. Back to Kamptal. So Kamptal stands for today for whites. And here are two varieties at the moment which are allowed for using the appellation. This is Grüne Veltliner and Riesling. This is because these two varieties need completely different soils. Grüne Veltliner need a very rich soil, need water, and that's why it's planted mainly in loess. But what you can see here behind the village, these are terraces based on, it's called the Bohemian Mass, which is gneiss and granite. And so you can believe that these are very dry soils, and especially Kamptal doesn't have so much rains during a year. So a regular year is only 400 liters, which is quite dry. You heard Styria first, 1,000 liters, or when you compare it to Burgundy or Tuscany, they have around 700 liters. So Kamptal is quite a dry region, and that's why in all these terraces, which get steeper, Riesling is our favorite grape for that because Riesling need well-drained soil. But what we have in the bottle is, or what you have at the tasting now, is not Riesling, it's Grüne Veltliner, and it's a single vineyard wine. We call that Ried. You will also see that on the label. Maybe I'll show you that. So there's a little word. There's a little word that says, yeah, here's on the fact sheet, you see it a little better. And Ried is the word for cru or Lage or site. And when you see that, then you are safe that this is single vineyard wine, an appellation wine, and not a wine with a fantasy name or trademark or something like that. And as we have here this appellation system with Kamptal DSC, Grüne Veltliner, and Riesling, both dry. We also have this three different level system, as you might know from Burgundy, or also the VDP wineries in Germany are using that. That means the basic is only labeled with the region name, Kamptal. The next step is the village level. So in my case, it would be Langenlois or Langenloiser. The Germans always put an ER at the end when they're talking about a person in a way. And the best wines, or let's say maybe not the best wines, but the wine with the highest personality and also the wines which are quite difficult to get every year, the single vineyard wines, because you harvest only from one particular site. That means there can be big differences from year to year. We have years with more rains, then we have years with less rains. So it's quite difficult to get really good grapes every year from one single vineyard wines, even when it's one of the best sites. When it's a dry year and you have a very dry soil, then it can get tricky. And this, what we have now is Grüne Veltliner Käferberg, which is, or let's say, belongs to the best sites here for Grüne Veltliner. Grüne Veltliner is a grape which ripes earlier as Riesling, for example, and that's why we tend more and more, that's a fact of climate warming, to go to sites which are not facing south or maybe southwest, which are always the hottest. We try to get more east-facing and sometimes even north-facing sites for Grüne Veltliner. And Käferberg is an east-facing site. High in altitude, around 350. So the wine growing in Langenlois or in Kamptal is somewhere between 200 and 400. So it's on the upper scale in the region, and that means quite a nice slow and long ripening phase in September or even in October. This year it will be more October. It's a later year. Thanks God for that. It looks very good at the moment. We're expecting quite a nice quite nice fruit. Let's see what happens then in the cellar. And Keverberg is one of these cooler vineyard sites, so we don't have to pick too early. And even with that, we don't get, even when we pick later, we don't get too powerful wines, because I like it, like same as on the sparklings, I like wines which doesn't show alcohol. They should show taste. And I think one of the tricks, let's say it in that way, to get taste in a wine is time and low intervention. And this is what we are doing. So they ferment all in wooden cask, spontaneous, so with our own yeasts. That's the idea of biodynamic in a way that nothing comes from the outside. So also in the vineyards, the fertilizer is our own compost from our own organic material from the region. And that creates the special soil life, which is really adapted to the place. And the same is in the cellar. When you don't buy yeast and when you don't buy bacteria or whatever, you create your own microflora in the cellar. And this is how we work. And the only intervention we do at that wine is deciding when we rack. That's one thing. Deciding when we bottle, and a little sulfuring. That's everything. And since 2 years, because of that working, we are able to bottle all our single vineyard wines without any filtration. So they are quite close today to natural winemaking. Yeah, Piotr, do we have more slides, more pictures? Maybe we can go to, I think there are a few more pictures.
Coming back to
Remember?
pictures, and there is a question about the grapes, grapes for the sparkling
Yeah.
wine. The grapes coming, do the grapes come from outside of Camptal for the sparkling?
There's coming in the past. There's coming a little bit from Gumpolskirchen, but we changed now, and because we do now a Blanc de Noir from Gumpolskirchen, so the extra brut and the brut rosé today is coming 100% from Langendorf, from Camptal. Because here we get the better fruit or easier the better fruit for sparkling because of the climate. So Gumpolskirchen is much warmer, and here we can keep the freshness of the wines because of the acidity and the pH level easier.
Right.
Yeah,
And one question.
Yeah.
Another question from me. This is, how is it? When did you decide to make your first sparkling? Was it a fantasy or a dream from for many years, or you woke up just one day over 40, let's say, and you decided, me, Fred Leumer, I'm going to produce sparkling wines? Because this is, I believe, some grown-up men decide to make sparkling wines one day, and I cannot explain it.
When I made the decision first, I was in not really grown up, so, because the very first sparkling we did in '91, so almost, and the reason in '91 was the fruit we had outside. So it's close to here, to the place where I'm sitting at the winery. We have a Pinot Noir vineyard planted in, I think it was 87 or something like that. And so in 91, this vineyard showed the very first time really production. And I planted Pinot Noir here with the clone Mariafeld, which is a clone selection bringing very light bunches, so never rot. But as it was a young vineyard, it brought a lot of fruit. It was unbelievable how many grapes on the vines and to know what to do, because it was not possible to make a red wine with that yielding. And so the idea came because there was Willy Bründelmeier who started in 1809 here in Langenlois with sect. So there was an example already here in the city. And so I thought, okay, when it's not possible to produce an red wine with these quantities of grapes on these wines, maybe it's a good idea to produce sect, because by sect you need, don't need sugar in a way. Of course, you need quality and you need a base sugar level, but what's even more important is clean fruit and healthy fruits and a good pH and a good acid level. And this I got with these Pinot Noirs. So my very, very first sect in 91 was a Blanc de Noir here from Langenlois. And it turned out, so we fermented in wooden cask, and it turned out as quite a good sect. But what happens afterwards, we did that up to 98, and we're very emotional in that. But 30 years ago, sect from growers was quite new, because in the 70s it was not allowed, or in 70s and before, it was not allowed to produce sect as a grower. This was in the hand of the houses, the sect houses. So you need a special license for that. And because of a colleague here, Mallard Bründelmeier, he intervened, and he got right in the late 70s. And he was the guy who made it possible for growers to make sect. So that's why sect is quite a young story in Austria. And that's why some started in the late 80s, and we started in the early 90s, and really now, almost 10 years ago. Because of that happening in 91 for me, it was more an accident at the beginning, because I didn't know what to do with the grapes, with these kind of grapes. And today I'm quite happy, because we got some experience in that time, which we can use today.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you very much. I'll let you.
You're welcome.
Continue.
So, some more pictures or some questions, or I handle to Gernot.
So, because we have, there's still some pictures here, biodiversity, etc.
Yeah, maybe we slide through. Yeah. So diversity is everything in nature, and a vineyard is normally monoculture, and that's why we try to do everything to create a kind of diversity, to break that monoculture, because that's a very, very important tool to stay healthy by itself. And it looks nice in some times of the year. That's our own compost. We changed a little bit the technique, but still similar. We do our own compost with own organic material. We have access to dung here from the region, and I think that's one of the keys to feed your soil in the right way, to feed your soil life in the right way, and a healthy soil life with a fertilizer from the place also creates at the end a wine coming from that place. So I think it's important for an appellation wine. We have a press house which works on gravity, allows to get juice without using any pumps. Quite important for sparkling. Can do a whole bunch pressing, because sparkling is very much on technique. So you need, of course, the right grapes, but then you need a very, very high precision in whatever you are doing, to get no tannins into the juice, no oxidation, and so on. So we're happy that we can work in that way. And we have an old cave. Looks different today because we cleaned the bricks. But we have an old cave which is very stable in climate, and it's very quiet there. And there we do in wooden cask our best wines. So these are 1,200 liters, but we have also 2,500 liters and even smaller ones. And we stay there on the lease for a longer time. And also sparkling basic wine goes now into these casks. That's how we riddle. So everything is made here in the winery by ourselves, from bottling to storing, over riddling and degorging. Everything we do in the winery, and that's the place where the racks for riddling are. And that's the different sparklings, as I told you already. So 2 non-vintages, Extra Brut and Brut Rosé, and 2 Große Reserve with a vintage on Langenlois in the Gumpolskirchen. Langenlois is Blanc de Blanc and Gumpolskirchen is Blanc de Noir. And quite happy, not only that Lois, my older son, came with me to a presentation. We won with the Langenlois Blanc de Blanc 2016 an Austrian tasting, which is the biggest tasting here in Austria. It's called the Salon, and we won that Salon. So we can call our Langenlois Blanc de Blanc the best sect from Austria in the next 10 months. This is a picture from Käferberg, so we can go through quicker. And maybe this last one. Do we have one more? And we do quite a few single vineyards. All of them are classified as Erste Lage. So this one ÖTW means Premier Cru, so Erste Lage, so sites which are producing year by year better wines at other vineyards. Yep.
Yeah.
We are through. That's fine. Sorry, it was a little longer.
No, it was perfect. Thank you very much, Fred. That was impressive, really. I mean, I really like the sparkling. I knew your Gruners, but the sparkling, yeah. And there is another tasting of sparklings in September, is it?
October, there is the Day of Sect, somewhere middle of October or end of October or something like that. Quite interesting tasting when you're interested in Austrian sparklings, because they are more or less all really good producers for sparkling from Austria.
Great. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And let's pass the voice to any questions, folks? To Fred? Something is typing. Someone is typing. Sorry.
Someone is typing. Okay.
English words.
You want to tip? Yeah.
Someone's typing something. Okay. And
okay.
Gernot, please.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Fred.
Thanks.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Stay with us, please, if there's
Yep,
any...
sure. I will stay.
Thank you.
Thanks.
And yes, now we pass to Burgenland and Mr. Heinrich, Gernot Heinrich from Burgenland. Gernot, please click, press on the buttons. Yes, sorry. Press on the icons of the microphone and the camera, and you will join us. Do we see Gernot? No, we see this is not Gernot actually. Yeah. So, yes. Hello. Do we hear you? Hello. Yeah. There's something with the voice, and you're frozen. But yeah.
Can you hear me? Does it work?
I can hear you, but so. Please say a few words.
Hello again. We're doing a trip to the Far East.
Great.
Of the Austrian wine regions. Our winery is located about 10 kilometers, very close to the Hungarian border. And yeah, it is the warmest and driest area of Austria. And that's the reason why we're focusing on red wine, first of all. But during the past years, we found our love, we fell in love with natural wines. And I think fermenting white wine grapes on the skin is a perfect way to express our terroir in our region and to get more personality and more structure in the wines. And I would like to share the screen now to show a few slides to give you impressions. How does it work? Like this, Thailand. Oh, vision.
Hat's geklappt jetzt?
Yeah.
Can you see the screen now?
First, you have to open the document in the back. Yeah.
Yeah. Does it
Yeah.
work now?
Perfect.
Okay.
Great.
Well, that's the start of the presentation. Sign of our winery and the map again. So you can see the winery is located on the northeast side of the lake in Gols. And during the past 15 years, we rented and bought a lot of vineyards on the west side of the lake, which is the cooler area, cooler mesoclimate, and especially in these two villages, Winden and Breitenbrunn, where the vineyards are faced to the southeast. This is limestone and schist soil, which we can see in the next slides. And yeah, we started with biodynamic farming in 2006. And field spray preparates like cow manure is a very important matter in biodynamics. That's our son, Lawrence, digging out the cow manure preparate this spring. And it's enhancing the life in the soil and balancing the growth processes in the vineyard. And as Fred was mentioning before, compost is a very important matter of biodynamics, and also inoculating the compost with the compost preparates to balance all the life forces in the soil and also in our plants. It's again our St. Lawrence spraying valerian on the compost. And we're also using local herbal infusions like nettle tea. Sometimes we're doing a combination, spraying a combination of nettle tea and cow manure preparate, the 500. And also working with cover crops, which bring a lot of insect life to our soil and our vineyards. Bumblebees and also wildlife is still intact in our vineyards. You can find a lot of wild animals, even a bee eater, which is a very rare bird you find close to the vineyards, or lizards. And in our winery, we started with sheep breeding also in 2015, and especially Heike is taking care of the sheep, and she is really in love with them, as you can see here. So there is really a strong relationship, and that brings the astral forces also to the winery. That's now a view on our site, famous site, single vineyard site, Alterberg, on the west side of the lake, all covered with Blaufränkisch, which is the most grown grape at the winery. It covers about 50% of the total wine growing area. And why we did this step in 2006 to the other side of the lake, which was a big decision in the end. It was the soil, which is so fascinating. And you can see here the next few slides showing this pure calcareous soil. And you can imagine that the vines and the roots have to struggle to go down deeper. And even when you're planting a new vineyard, and we're doing a lot of new plantations every year, they are rooting directly in this very calcareous soil. It's called limestone, so you can find a lot of fossils in there. and even our dog liked this climbing up on the hill. This is a picture of our second single vineyard, Blaufränkisch Edelgraben, with a view to the lake and also to the Hungarian border in the background. Picture from last year, climbing up the Edelgraben with Blaufränkisch bunches. And this is a schist soil, so you can see it's a very durable, very poor soil again, but also emitting potassium and iron. So that is the reason why these wines are always very rich in color. And you can see these are low vigorous wines because there's always a lack of water. And it's a big advantage also if you have rain before harvest, as we had this year. There was no rain, almost no rain during the whole summer. And then we had some weeks ago, quite a lot of. And so there is no negative effect on schist soil because the roots are not taking the water and it's not storing the water. So the first wine we will taste is made of Pinot Blanc, Chardonnay and Pinot Gris, and a bit of Neuburger. And I just click through these pictures of a ripe Weißburgunder, Pinot Blanc in this case. And by the way, we are starting also tomorrow with our harvest this year. This is how Pinot Gris looks like when the grapes are coming to the winery. And in the end, when you do skin fermentation with whites, you're extracting the color of the skin. Same as with the reds. Same technology. And sometimes we do co-fermentation of Pinot Blanc, Pinot Gris. Picture shows a perfect bunch of Chardonnay. So it's carefully hand-picked and followed by a second selection in the winery. So we're really checking every single bunch. And this is how Blaufränkisch looks like in the best condition. We like this kind of loose bunches, small berries, thick skin, and that means in the end, high concentration and a lot of taste. This is the natural concentration and complexity in taste, what we are looking for. And we're talking about a few hundred grams yield per wine. And if you have 6,000 wines per hectare, in the end, we pick only 2,000 kilograms, sometimes less, between 1,500 and 2,000 kilograms per hectare. Same with Blaufränkisch, sorting belt. So that's the work we will do. The next, I will try if this is working. And we are using gravity in a winery. So the grapes are falling into the distemmer after the sorting belt. You can see that they are quite ripe. Gravity, so we're filling them for us. Grapes are slipping down to the amphoras, or this is a white picture of white wine. And also red wine fermentation. Some of the Blaufränkisch we are fermenting in amphoras too. But also 3,000 liter oak vats, opened up fermenters are used for fermentation of Blaufränkisch. And it's a very flexible concept in the cellar, so we can move all the tanks, the wooden fermenters and the amphoras, punching down by hand, so a very gentle way to do the extraction. And in the end, we're doing less and less because we realized that less extraction means more elegant wines, and we don't need to extract more tannin because there is a lot of tannin and phenols in the skin. And it's a lot of handwork, not only hand picking, but also in the cellar. We're doing hard work, sometimes with our interns. That's the son of a friend of mine, Sepp Muster from Styria, also a natural winemaker. And this is Kati Moser, also an intern from 3 years ago. We're using the sieve to empty them for us. We're racking off the juice. and we take the rest into the basket press. It's again a very gentle way to do the pressing. And yeah, we're turning the amphora with the forklift into the basket press, and that's a very easy way to empty the amphoras. Before we were using this system, it was quite hard work to get the mesh out of the amphora. We had someone, actually a little small tiny girl student from Geisnam, climbing into the amphora to empty, but now we have 130 instead of 5 in the very beginning. So we using another technique now. Yeah, the yeast, it shows this glass of wine, of young wine, shows the yeast in the wine, which is very important to protect the wine from the very beginning on. And yeah, again, basket pressing, press wine goes down to the cellar by gravity again. We're filling the tonneaus and amphoras, as you can see here, different colors. So the color of Pinot Gris is quite intense when you do skin fermentation, which you can see here on the left-hand side. But we're also using big oval shape casks, and we stay a long time on the natural lees. And here in the front, you can see the ceramic eggs, which we're also using, topping up the barrels. Again, a lot of handwork. And that's the yeast, which is one of the miracles of a living, vibrant wine. So we're taking care of the lees after we're wrecking from the amphoras. And yeah, tasting in the cellar. And bottling in ceramic bottles. The first wine we're going to taste in a second, which is Graue Freiheit. You can see different colors again. This picture.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry, Gernot. Just one question or two questions, because there is a question in the chat, and from me, could you repeat how many kilograms per hectare?
For the top Blaufränkisch, we are picking only 1,500 to 2,000 kilograms. For the Leiterberg, we tasted today, it's about 3,000, 3,500. And
okay, so 20 quintals, let's say, in 2,000 kilograms or 35.
The average yield,
and the question.
The average yield in the wine is about 3,500 all over the vineyards.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Question on the chat is, can you tell us more about wine in stoneware? Why are they better? Also, why some wines are better after shaking?
I would like to finish the last two slides and then coming back to the question, because then we will taste the first wine, Graue Freiheit, which is in the stoneware bottle. So this picture is demonstrating this slow winemaking process, and it's an animal which we call Weinbergschnecke, and the population is growing, which I really appreciate, and we see a lot more animals now because of all our cover crops. And this picture demonstrates sometimes the steep way to explain the wines, to sell the wines if they are made in a very natural way. And how do we get back now? So, coming back to the question. I think there is an influence of the stoneware bottle to the wine. I think the wine is protected much more against temperature and against not only sunlight, but all other rays which are in our surroundings. And it's developing in a slower way, I would say. But I really like this. Why are the ones better after shaking? The reason why we're shaking is to get the lees, which is sedimenting in the bottle, in the fridge, kind of in solution again, and it's refreshing the wine. And it's a different character if you shake the bottle. Yeah, you see the fact sheet here. So it's a blend of 50 Weißburgunder, 25 Chardonnay, 20 Pinot Gris, and 5 Neuburger. So only this 20% of Pinot Gris is kind of coloring the wine. And yeah, every year it's really a miracle how much color we're extracting out of the skin of the Pinot Gris. And I think the 19 vintage has a lot of freshness and acidity, and it's really one of my favorite vintages. And yeah, you can see it's really bright and shiny, and you get this kind of ethereal notes on the nose. And what is typical for all our wines is this really dry and salty finish in the end. And I think this phenolic elements, they bring another dimension to the wine. There's yeah, more character, more expression of terroir in the end. And in this case, it's schist soil is more dominant in this one. Yeah, the second wine we're tasting is Blaufränkisch Leiterberg.
Sorry,
yeah.
There is a question about the temperature, serving temperature.
Yeah, because there is a lot of tannin, I would go up to maybe 13, 14 degrees. So I wouldn't serve it with 8 or 10 degrees because there is a lot more of taste if you have higher temperature. I would prefer that. And yeah, another matter is I think it's very versatile in food wine pairing. So there are lots of dishes which are fitting perfect to this wine. Yeah, the second wine is Blaufränkisch Leiterberg. So it's not a single vineyard. Actually, it's coming from 3 villages, from Joyce, Winden, and Breitenbronn. And 17 is another great vintage. Perfect summer, and in the end we had cooler nights, a bit comparable to this year. So I think it will be another great vintage in 21. And right now we have, I think, 27 degrees during the day and 7 degrees or 8 degrees during the night. So it's similar to the 17 vintage, and that preserved the acidity. And we had full ripeness, and which is necessary for the Blaufränkisch, because it's our late ripening grape. And if it's not ripe enough, you have this green, rough tannin, and then the wine is rustic and not very enjoyable. But I like this floral components on the nose. Very elegant, tight, very long finish, and also very fresh, quite fresh tannin. I see another question. Okay, it's not a question. I'm glad that you're dreaming. Yeah, sometimes we are dreaming too. But because Blaufränkisch has very thick skin and a lot of tannin, you have to be careful in extracting. So, as I was mentioning before, less punch down and lower fermentation temperatures. So when we're fermenting in amphoras, the temperature doesn't go up that high, and also the contact surface between the mash and or between the grapes, the berries, and the juice is not that big. So it's a gentle extraction and less extraction in the end. And we're also using more and more whole bunch, much more for Pinot Noir, but also up to 10-15% for Blaufränkisch. And yeah, maybe we will increase that percentage in the coming vintage, because I like this style of winemaking a lot. Are there some more questions from the audience side?
Well, there are just the comments showing the admiration, I believe. Well, thank you very much, Gernot. This is,
I would like.
I can't say you're better or worse than the others, but this is a big group. I can just make a statement like this: a big group of producers. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I would like to say an invitation to all the viewers, to the audience. So if they visit Austria, they are welcome to visit us at the winery and tasting wines with us. And yeah, we would like to show them around and yeah, tasting the winery. And yeah, thank you for taking part, and hope to see you in the near future.
Thank you very much, and please stay with us if there are any other questions or queries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, and now the last two wineries, and Fritz Wieninger from Vienna. Fritz, are you with us? Fritz, hello. Yes, he's coming. Hello.
Hello.
Hello, yes.
Good evening to everybody from Vienna.
Hello, and so the floor is yours, and wait.
Okay. Give me a second. I just start my presentation. A wonderful good afternoon, good evening to everybody. Here from Vienna. Where is my presentation? Here it is. Start. Okay. Here we are. Can you see that?
Yes, it's perfect. Yes.
Okay, wonderful. Wonderful.
We can see.
Actually, I am talking for two wineries, the Wieninger winery or estate and the Heisan Neumann estate. I will tell you a little more about it. First, let me introduce my region. You probably know Vienna much better on this slide, St. Stephen's and so on. The center of Vienna is a World Heritage. It's a beautiful 2 million city. What not everybody in the world knows, it's the only million city, not only the only capital city, but the only million city in the world that has its own wine region within its city limits. Here you see the Danube and of course freeways and so on, and left upper side you see, for example, the Nussberg, which is part of Vienna and fully covered with vineyards. There is still about 700 hectares of vineyards within the Viennese city limits, and my vineyards are among those. Here you have a map of Vienna, and all the greenish spots are vineyards. You see a lot in the far north at the hill called Biesenberg, and also a lot on the other side of the Danube River in the 19th district called Döbling. There is the Nussberg, there is Sievering, there is Neustift. All pretty expensive living areas, residential areas, but the vineyards are strictly protected. It's not only forbidden to build anything up there on these hillsides. Today we even have a law that allows that you sell a vineyard, but the new owner has to save the vineyard and work it. So that is the possibility, and I think the only chance to bring our vineyards also into the next generations. Here actually is already, I missed a slide. Oh, okay, that's gone. This is already a picture of one of the vineyards from the first wine I want to show you from the Heisan Neumann estate. Heisan Neumann is an estate that I bought 7 years ago. Stefan Heisan was and still is a very good friend of mine. Actually, he brought me into biodynamic work. He showed me how to do this and helped me a lot in the very beginning. And 7 years ago, he didn't want to continue anymore. He was kind of in a burnout and wanted to get rid of all his businesses, and did in the meantime emigrate to New Zealand, a very quiet spot on the southern island, in the north of the southern island near Nelson, where he has a few cows and a few sheep and a small vineyard, and does everything on his own and eats his own eggs from his own chicken, and has a wonderful family life in a wonderful area in this world, but much more quiet than we have it here in Vienna. He came to me and said, Fritz, I want to get out of this, and you are the one who has to take over. At that time, we were the only two biodynamic working wineries in Vienna, and he didn't want to give his vineyards to anybody who starts immediately to spray herbicides or insecticides or all these bad pesticides. So for me, this was a little much for one evening, but 20 hectares biodynamic farmed vineyards at once, especially at Nussberg and Steinberg, the most prestigious vineyard areas in Vienna. I was not so sure 20 hectares is a lot of work too, but the next morning I decided, yes, this is a once in a lifetime chance and I will do it. And I did it. And one of the best wines of the Heisan Neumann estate is this Riesling from the Ried Steinberg, which is also rated or certified as a Erste Lage, a Premier Cru of the Traditionsweingüter Austria. There is a small group of Viennese producers that also belongs to the Traditionsweingüter, where I'm the president of, and Steinberg is one of these 12 vineyard areas or crus that are rated since 2017 as Erste Lage. What you see on the screen is on the left side and in the front the vineyard, and on the right side a little pop-up wine tavern. We call that Buschenschank, in the middle of the vineyard, overlooking the whole city of Vienna, drinking the wine that grows there around the corner, and eating some cold snacks, some sausage or cheese, some cream cheese to put on bread, but also some new age things, because I'm doing this together with the only 3-star chef in Austria that rented a part of my winery to do his restaurant, and he's doing the kitchen here. So a really cool place with lots of young people that enjoy the wine and this kind of food in the sunny afternoons during the growing season. In the winter it's closed, but during the nice period of time, this is open. Well, Steinberg, it's the vintage 19. It's a little higher up. Vienna was covered by an ocean, as many other areas in eastern Austria too. On the lower elevations, we have a lot of marine sediments with high contents of chalk. Here we talk about a higher elevation and more rocky soil, primary rock from the Alpine formation that comes into Vienna and ends just in front of this vineyard. Down there where you see the houses, the Alps are over. This is the very last tail of the Alps towards the east, where the Viennese vineyards are planted and located. Of course, it's a dry Riesling in Austria in general, but for me in particular, it's very important that there is no higher content of residual sugar with Riesling. We want to have it dry. We want to have it kind of rich, not too light. We want to have it mature and definitely well ageable. In this case, we talk about 14 alcohol and no sugar at all. A wine that was fermented and aged in stainless steel and bottled around May after the harvest. Also, this winery, of course, is biodynamic farmed. We are member of the Respect Group, as all the other producers in the Premium Estates group. More or less, we do the same kind of work, and I think my colleagues before did explain the kind of work already very well. Let's go to the next slide and to the next winery. My home winery is Weingut Wieninger, like my name. My parents did wine growing and production more or less for their own restaurant. We called it Heuriger in Vienna. They worked with about 8 hectares and sold the result or the harvest of 8 hectares to 95 or even sometimes more % at their own restaurant, where every weekend was fully booked. People were drinking a whole lot and celebrating until 2 or 3 in the morning. When I was a small boy, this was my weekend life. I tried to get sleep at night time with my younger brother, but people out there were partying, drinking, dancing on the tables and having a wonderful wild life. Today, it's changed. It's totally changed. People don't drink that much anymore. People are more quiet. Even when they celebrate, people don't drive a car anymore when they drink a little more. At that time, like 50 years ago, people drank a lot and still used their car to go home. Sometimes it happened something, not often happened something, because there was not that much traffic like today. When I grow up, I made this winemaking college and started to get really deeply interested in wine and wine production, winemaking, tasting wine as well. And my dream got more and more in direction. I do not want to have a restaurant. I want to concentrate and focus on fine wines, on winemaking, on vineyard work, and sell my wines to the finest tables of the country. I started in '87. That was my first vintage. I didn't think of organic or biodynamic in the very beginning. Actually, in the very beginning, I was a winemaker. I thought, bring me any grapes, I make a great wine out of it. And over the years, actually it didn't take that long, but over the years I found out winemaking is actually the wrong philosophy. It's more or less the wine that grows in the vineyard, and from great grapes I can make maybe a great wine or a good wine. From average grapes, it's not possible to make a great wine. So I have to focus more on the vineyards. And over the years, it brought me to alternative ways and brought me to biodynamic work. The next wine, that would be again a white wine. It's the Ried Ulm, also certified as a Premier Cru, as a Erste Lage. It is a Wiener Gemischter Satz, DAC, again vintage 19. Wiener Gemischter Satz, I'm almost sure most of you know what that is, but I want to repeat, it is a very typical Viennese wine where different grape varieties are grown in one and the same vineyard. By the law, it has to be a minimum of 3 different grape varieties in one vineyard, and they have to be harvested all together at the same time. As you can see here on this picture, this is the vineyard. Ried Ulm is the very first at the Nussberg, next to the Danube River. It's a monopoly cru. Nobody else can use this name because this vineyard is the whole cru. And really starts next to the Danube River and comes far into the Nussberg. We did hand harvest at this time when this picture was taken. This is quite an older picture. 25 years ago, this vineyard was already old. Now it's even older. Now it's more than 60 years old. And guess what? We still do hand pick everything, because I also believe, like my colleagues, that it is very much necessary that humans, people that are skilled, go into the vineyards and have a look on the grapes, cut out berries that we do not want to have in our buckets or in the press or in the wine later on. And only eyes can see that, only a tongue can taste that, or a nose can smell the volunteer acidity when some bugs or wasps soak a berry and the vinegar bacteria falls or gets into it and destroys that berry. One berry can cause big damage, and we want to sort that out as good as we can, select that out, and no machine so far can do that. And that's the reason for hand picking. Wiener Gemischter Satz, a field blend wine of different grape varieties. In this case, it is 9 different grape varieties. It's based on Pinot Blanc, also a lot of Neuburger, Welsch Riesling and Grüner Veltliner, and smaller portions or percentages of Silvaner, Zierpfandler, Rotgipfler, Traminer and Riesling. And in fact, the Traminer is maybe less than 1% in here, but I always have the feeling I can smell it a little bit. When I took over 99, this vineyard, I was not so convinced about Gemischter Satz, this field blend wine, and image-wise, nobody really wanted that kind of wine. That was even an insult when you said, I invite you for a Gemischter Satz. Oh, what did I wrong? People really hated that. So I did not believe in it, but this vineyard, what you see on this picture and the wine you have in the glass from a different vintage 99 really showed me that that kind of wine can be a great wine, can be a very interesting wine, and definitely is a wine with very deep character and long life. So something special. And something special is always good. Later on, we made this DAC. What does it mean? It's our appellation. It's our typical style of wine for the Vienna region. And therefore, I'm very proud that we have that, or that I found that out, that I also like it. The vineyard still is in best shape. I think it even looks better today than on this picture. We interplant varieties that are facing better the climate change. This is you cannot see that on this picture, but it's a very steep vineyard. Of course, it's exposed to the sun very strong. Some varieties can handle the climate change better, some others not that good. Neuburger is a variety that drops with acidity very easily. When we interplant, we do a lot of different varieties, but not Neuburger, also not Grüner Veltliner, because also the Grüner Veltliner starts to get some problems on this warmer sites. We plant Grüner Weltliner more on cooler sites, northeast exposed vineyards. This is how we do it now. Our climate is a little warmer than Langenlois or the Weinviertel, the northern parts. Our climate is cooler than the climate around the Lake Neusiedl. We are in Vienna kind of in the middle, and therefore our wines are a little richer, a little more concentrated, and well, we have to watch out with climate change not to exceed the concentration, like many producers in Austria nowadays ask themselves, what can we do to lower alcohol, to make wines that have good drinkability, and so on. This is maybe not the very best example because we are in the range of 14 alcohol plus. It's a very concentrated wine, but for me this is a high-end style wine which is not made for immediate consumption. This is a wine for aging. I'm doing this vineyard for quite many years, and we see that the older it gets, the better it gets. It needs time, and therefore alcohol is not the big issue. I think for me it's more a question, how does it taste? We use here about 40% big barrels, neutral oak, 2,500 liter, and the rest is stainless steel. We work on to get a higher percentage of barrels, but I don't want to use too young barrels. I do not want to have any kind of oak taste in this kind of wine. So it needs some time until the barrels I buy every year get the right age. No malolactic fermentation, by the way. This wine never has, only once had malolactic fermentation, and I hated it. So I'm not doing this anymore. Actually, we have to save as much acidity as we can. So harvest not too late, usually the very first week of October. And as I said, everything at once, all varieties together. Some are a little more ripe, overripe maybe even. Some are a little underripe or not that super ripe as the others. The one gives the exotic flavors, the other give freshness and give some more acidity. So I have to have a sip. Then let's go to the next wine. It's the Traminer. Again, we jump across the Danube and go to Heisan-Neumann. There I start in 2014. I took over this winery, and also in 2014 I tasted my first or the first natural or skin fermented white wines that I liked. I tasted many before, but I didn't like those wines. I didn't understand the people that loved those wines. Some of those wines even were stinking like vinegar or other things, but not like wine, not smelling like wine. I kind of was unable to find the positive parts of these wines. But in 14, I had my first wines that I really liked, and I saw that it is possible to make in this style very good and very interesting wines, a new dimension actually of wine, because it's different, it has very deep character. And so I said, when there is one or there is two, you cannot in general say that this kind of technique is bad. So I tried it out. I didn't use these amphoras like on the picture. First, I started with concrete eggs because at that time only amphoras for digging into the ground were available. And later I found these amphoras, what I use now, at least for the Traminer and also for Gemischter Satz. And the range, except one wine, but all the others are made in these amphoras. They hold about 750 liters, a good size that is also possible to transport in the cellar from the press house. As you can see here on the picture, we destem the grapes and then we put the must into the amphora, close it, and that was it. There is no fining, there is no sulfur, there is no yeast, there is no nutrition, there is no nothing except time. It ferments on its own. The only thing we look carefully for is that it's always really full and not that the oxygen gets a chance to get into it. That's the only thing we really look very carefully. After 5 months, not 5 weeks, 5 months, we take it off the skins, we put it in the press, but we don't press it. Actually, we just get the juice or the wine off the skins, and that is the wine we bottle 3 weeks later, again without sulfur, without fining, without filtration. That is it. That is the Traminer, what would be the third wine, Traminer Vintage 19. It's a mix or a field blend of red Traminer, which is more the Baroque style, lower acidity and higher maturity, and the yellow Traminer, which is a Traminer style that is a little more acidic, has more acidity and not that Baroque kind of bouquet or flavors in the nose. 50% the one and 50% the other. I have 2 vineyards where one is completely mixed, random mixed, and one is 2 blocks, 1 block yellow, 1 block red. We harvest always everything together and vinify this natural Traminer. Until now, 2021, I cannot wait to start with the harvest. We will not start tomorrow. We will start maybe also this week with some grape juice and wine for bubble production. But I think our real start will be around mid of September with the harvest. And we jump one more time to Wieninger, and we come to Pinot Noir. In this case, it is Pinot Noir Select. There would be a Grand Select as well. Grand Select is the very best selection. Select is the second best selection. On this picture, actually, you see the grapes in the front, and in the back, you see one of the vineyards, which is a Lyra training system, 2 lines of grapes from one spot. I did a few vineyards many years ago to save land and to bring more vines with more rootstock on the square meter. And this worked out. It's a lot of work, but the quality is very good. Again, handpicking. Again, here, the selection is very important. The lady on the left side is my mom. At that time, when the picture was taken, she worked always with the people in the vineyard. She still does with her 77 years. She still cannot stop. She wants to be out in the vineyards. She is a true nature girl and loves this. And I like it too, because so I have a very strong right hand directly outside, out of the family, that controls a little bit the quality aspects, the people, how they work. And this is always good when there is somebody you can ask what is going on and if the selection is right or not. Every vineyard is different, every vintage is different. This work with the selection is not so easy. You need somebody to train the people, not once during the harvest. It must be maybe every hour in some cases, in some vintages. Pinot Noir is for me very important. I love Pinot, I love Burgundy, For example, my grandfather, who died when I was 2 years old or 1.5 years old, he inherited me a vineyard from Pinot Noir. And so I got very early a strong connection to Pinot. First, I found wines in his cellar that were left there from Burgundy. So he must have been a Burgundy lover. And this vineyard kind of was important for me. I always tried my best out of that vineyard. And in my travels, in my younger days, in the discussions with the winemakers anywhere in the world, I always saw that when it comes up to Pinot Noir, when it comes up to Burgundy wines, the eyes of the winemaker start to shine. It gets more emotional, and I saw and found out actually I can be part of this discussion because I have Pinot Noir, I work with Pinot Noir, and what this guy is talking about, I have in my cellar. I made wines like this already. They are just not that famous like Burgundy, but they taste maybe not similar, but it's not so far away. So that made me always very happy to realize that we have conditions that are very positive for these kind of wines. Select is from 4 different vineyards. On the screen you see one of the vineyards. It is the Ried Breiten. I never put the vineyard name on the label because 4 vineyard names, it's not possible to put it on the label. I just call it Select, and in the case of the big brother, Grand Select. We select the grapes from certain spots, do some boxes separated, that is the Grand Select, and the other parts are mainly the Select. 18 was a very hot year, or at least an extremely hot summer. We had some periods with up to almost 40 degrees. You can say this is death for Pinot Noir, and I would agree. This was really not easy. We worked with more covering leaves in that vintage. And didn't take off so much leaves that the sun was had not the chance to destroy the berries or the grapes. And we harvested much earlier. We harvested already in end of August, which is for us extremely early. We usually never harvest in August, but in 18 we did start already in August. And we to protect acidity on the one side, to limit alcohol on the other side. And what we also did and always do when it's warmer or let's say hotter these days, we use part of the stems, in this case about 35%. After the destemmer, I go there, take a handful of stems and put it into the tank or barrel wherever we pump in the must, and we ferment the stems with the skins. Do some extended maceration up to 5 weeks with the Pinot Noir, and do a lot of different barrels and units to be able to play afterwards very good with a blend using different aromas, different styles, and build up the style of wine we want. Of course, always Pinot Noir, but different styles, cooler, warmer, more acidic, more tannic, any kind, more oaky. Also, there is some oak, of course. I'm not using that much. In this case, it's 20% new oak. 18, we started already with some 600-liter barrels, not only 225 anymore. And we go much more towards fruit, towards elegance, and less in direction of color and power. Powerful and dark Pinot Noir, this is not my cup of tea. So, well, I'm at the end, and I hope you did enjoy this. End of sharing. So.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hello. Sorry. Thank you very much.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thank you very much. We have some technical issues here, and I hear you with some retardation. But believe the others hear you well or heard you well.
Yes.
Do you have any questions to Fritz, folks? For wines. Yeah. This natural Traminer 2019.
Yeah.
It's I'm not too much. If I can say it's I'm really traditionalist, but this one was something I was really touched with.
Thank you. Well, for me, this style of Traminer, I made Traminer for 20 years before, and I always liked Traminer. It's not a big thing on the market. Not a lot of people buy it, but I like Traminer kind of, and I thought when I started with skin fermentation, well, it must be perfect for varieties that are so aromatic, such as Traminer, because most of the aromas are in the skin. And usually we soak for a couple hours, but just with the juice, so a watery, sugary juice, no alcohol. And here we have a soaking, a maceration process that the first thing is go through fermentation. Fermentation process is a strong maceration. And afterwards, after fermentation, it's not watery. Of course, there's also water inside, but 13% is alcohol. And alcohol can macerate even more of these fine aromas out of the skins than just a watery solution, what we call grape juice. And so it works. It's just, for me, I love this wine. It's just a big job for the chef that has to find the dish for this kind of wine. This is not so easy, but it's possible because I tried it often, and it's possible.
Yeah. Well, yes. That's very impressive, and that was the perfect end of the perfect tasting. I'm very happy we did it all together with the premium estates, and well, folks, what about it? You had different. The question is about the.
Well, what did the chef propose with Traminer? This kind of Traminer, I would use it for sushi. Sushi that is more intense, not the industrial salmon or so, but like snails and fermented seaweed, more intense flavors. The sushi needs dry wine, but these intense flavors would need something really aromatic and not too acidic. I would like that. I had it yesterday, actually.
Happy you.
Yeah.
Okay. So I believe this was the perfect opening of a perfect season of tastings. And what can we started with the earthquake, so what can be next? I don't know. Right? Another gemischter Satz. Yeah. Another question.
The question is how we handle the different ripening times of the grape varieties. I answer always the same question. Of course, it is a challenge to find the right window of harvest. It's more difficult than with the single varietal vineyard. But first, if you know your vineyards, then that makes it much easier. And you just have to be kind of in between overripeness may not be too far, not botrytis, and underripeness may not be unripeness. Unripeness where the tannins are green or the flavors are greenish. This is not good. I do these samples always myself because some of the berries I put in my little box to take home and to squeeze them out and to give it to a volunteer who makes the analytics. But every third or fourth berry I taste. I taste myself. And I see with the taste if the maturity is already there where I want it, or if it's still immature. Today I went through a vineyard to show people the vineyard actually and tasted a few berries, and I found out some of the varieties, it was a gemischter Satz, are not ready yet. They are too unripe. This like Sauvignon Blanc, when you pick it, Andreas Sattler will probably say, yes, you are right, I suppose. When Sauvignon Blanc is too early, too immature, then it is very green. It's grassy green, and this is what we really do not want to have. Yeah, and a little bit, let me say one last word. I grew up at the wine tavern at the Heuriger, and I never wanted to have one. Now I have a couple of restaurants. Vienna is a beautiful place. Also from my side, I give you a big invitation when you should come to Austria, when you should be in Vienna. Come by, visit us, either at one of my taverns or maybe at the winery and have the taste of a few wines. Thank you.
With pleasure. Thank you very much, Fritz. Thank you very much. And yes, if there's no questions, no more questions, guys. So thank you all for being with us, and let's believe this tasting will have a follow-up in the future. Yeah. Somebody just to thank you. Thank you. Yes.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you very much. And see you soon in Poland, perhaps, with the next occasion.
I will come.
Thank you. Well, ladies and gentlemen, this is it for today, and see you in 1 week. Thank you very much for being with us, watching us, and good night. Yeah. Of course, should I say this was Bobby Batista, CNN Headline News. Good night.